Hi guys, Mrs. Waters and Mr. Wells here. We're going to be going over a poem today called Jimmy Jet and His TV Set by Shel Silverstein. And I want to show you guys something called rhyme scheme. This is a way of mapping out the rhyme in a poem, and it's a skill that you're really going to have to use as you're analyzing poetry all the way up through high school. Some regencies have even had poetry on them and have required kids in the past to know what rhyme scheme is. So we're going to talk a little bit about that today. First, I want to read the poem to you because it's really good, and Shel Silverstein is one of my favorite poets. I grew up reading his poems. So this one, Jimmy Jet and His TV Set. I'll tell you the story of Jimmy Jet, and you know what I tell you is true. He loved to watch his TV set, almost as much as you. He watched all day, he watched all night, till he grew pale and lean. From the early show to the late show, and all the shows between. He watched until his eyes were frozen wide, and his bottom grew into his chair, and his chin turned into a tuning dial, and antennae grew out of his hair. His brains turned into TV tubes, and his face to a TV screen, and two knobs sang vert, and hors grew where his ears had been. And he grew a plug which looked like a tail, so we plugged in little Jim, and now instead of him watching TV, we all sit around and watch him. When we take a look at the first two stanzas of Jimmy Jet, you'll notice just by listening to the poem that you heard some rhymes going on. Rhyme scheme is where we assign letters of the alphabet to each of the lines to map out the rhyme. So I'm going to show you how this is done. We'll start with the first line where it says, I'll tell you the story of Jimmy Jet, and I'm going to grab a text box here. We would always start with the letter A when we're trying to map out a rhyme scheme because A is the first letter of the alphabet. So I'll tell you the story of Jimmy Jet. Starts with A. And it says, I know what, and you know what I tell you is true. The word true does not rhyme with jet. So we're going to give it the second letter of the alphabet. So I'm going to assign that one B. He loved to watch his TV set. If we look up here, set does not rhyme with true, but it does rhyme with jet. So because set and jet rhyme with one another, we're going to assign this the same letter of the alphabet. So set and jet, almost as much as you. So then we look at this last word here, you at the end of the line. You does not rhyme with set, so I can't give it an A. It does, however, rhyme with true. True and you are rhyming words. So I would assign this one a B. We would call this an AB rhyme scheme. It means that every other line appears to rhyme in this rhyme scheme. So you begin to see a pattern, AB. Now, when you go to a new stanza, we are still going to continue on with the alphabet. So I'm going to insert a new text box here, and we'll do the second stanza together. He watched all day and he watched all night. So I'm going to look up here and see if any of our other lines have ever rhymed with night. I've got you, I've got set, true, jet. None of those rhyme with night. So I've already used A and B in the alphabet, so it just makes more sense for me to assign this with a C. Now we're going to keep going with our rhyme scheme. Till he grew pale and lean. Lean does not rhyme with night. It also doesn't rhyme with you or set. So I'm going to assign that one a D. I'm going to move these over a little bit. From the early show to the late show. Show does not rhyme with lean or night or you or set. So I'm going to keep going. This does not want to cooperate with me. I'm going to give that one an E. I'm going to move these again. And all the shows between. When I look at between actually rhymes with lean, which was a D. So I'm going to assign that one a D. So far we have a rhyme scheme that looks like this. A, B, A, B, C, D, E, D.
All right,
I'm
guys.
going to challenge you guys to do the other couple of the other few yourselves, and I will do that in writing on Google Docs. Okay, but take it away, Mr. Wells.
Yeah, so I was going to say we were going to challenge you guys to do the remaining 3 stanzas because it does get a little tricky. You might have to go back up and see if, you know, the very last word rhymes with another line in the first 2 stanzas. So that's how you do a rhyme scheme. It just, you take the alphabet and you map out using the last word that was mentioned in the line and try to see if there's a pattern. So that's one of the first objectives that we really wanted to stress was what a rhyme scheme was. The second objective has to do with your homework assignment for tonight. So what we're going to challenge you to do is we want you to write what's called a narrative poem. So if you did your assignment that was posted on Friday, you guys needed to do a journal entry based on one of your fondest memories. And hopefully, you know, you wrote the minimum requirement and were able to give us a story of something that happened. So we challenge you now to write a poem. It has to be 12 lines in length. Now, you don't have to write in couplets. If you want to, you can. You can have a rhyme scheme of A, B, B, C, C. That's fine. But we do challenge you to at least have some kind of patterned rhyme scheme with 12 lines. And what makes a narrative poem, just like with this one, it's a story. There's a beginning, middle, and end. There's a character. Well, there's a character, Jimmy Jet. Well, what happened to him? He ended up turning into a TV set. We were able to, throughout the course of reading this poem, find out more about this character. There was conflict. What was the conflict? He was being turned into something, right? So the great thing about poetry is that it can be both fiction and nonfiction. You can use your imagination and creativity. So take that memory that you have. It doesn't even have to be true. Lie to me. I don't care, but tell me a story, right? Tell me a story. The challenge is trying to use some kind of rhyme scheme to make it creative.
Absolutely. And remember, you guys wrote some really great memories on Friday, those of you that turned it in. So you can take that memory and turn it into a poem, much like I did with my story, Achilles the Squirrel. And if you look at the homework guideline sheet, there is a sample poem that I wrote about my story, all based on the story of Achilles the Squirrel.